Betsy Brandt, an actress who is best known for roles in Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Magic Mike, Life in Pieces, and many others, is working with a hometown project, Michigan Made 2024. Celebrities rally to boost voter turnout tomorrow. Betsy Brandt joining me now on the Scott Sand Show.
Hi, Scott.
Hello, Betsy. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good. Morning for me, but yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Terrific. Let me just put this out front. You and I are coming out the election tomorrow from different political points of view, but I think the message is important to get out to vote.
Oh my God, yes. Yes. I'm not saying it doesn't matter who you vote for. It absolutely does. But I love election day. And if you vote early or however you do it, or you absentee if you're not home, but I love if I'm around and can go in person, I love it. It's such a privilege to vote. And yeah, I feel incredibly lucky, and it's important every year, but this year feels really important.
Something like half the country, especially in swing states, have voted early, which is an amazing turnout already. I'm like you.
Yeah.
I like to go on election day so I can talk to the poll workers, find out about turnout and if there have been any problems, and just get a mood for it. I think election day should be a federal holiday so more people can vote on election day. But I do think that this year, as important as any other year in our lifetime, it's important to make your decision heard and to cast your vote, or you really have no reason to complain come Wednesday.
Right. I spoke at my high school graduation as an alum, and that was one of the things I said. I'm like, this is your job. If you don't vote, don't complain. If you don't get out there and get your vote out there, I don't want to hear you complain about it. That's part of, like, everyone has to do their part, and that's our part. I also feel like, I don't know if you get this, but I feel like this year everyone's just a little more invested in doing their own research and finding candidates that line up with their values. And I think maybe that's why, and I could be wrong about this, I think maybe that's why they're more undecided voters, because I think everyone's looking at it a little more this year.
There's so much misinformation, wrong information, skewed information, thanks to social media, or if you want to blame social media, and the extremities have really been amplified.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I also I feel like people are also looking at, it's not just about the top of the ticket. Not to say that that's not hugely important. It is, but it all is. I mean, I look at races, in my district, in my state, and I'm from Michigan, and I haven't lived there for a long time. I've lived in California for years, but my heart is still in Michigan. I have a lot of family there. My kids, that's part of their upbringing. We go every year. They learn to ride bikes there. So I'm also I also pay attention to my home state and what's happening there, and not just the top of the ticket, but all the way down, like in my hometown. Literally. I can tell you who I would vote for if I was still living there.
We're talking to Betsy Brandt here on the Scott Sand Show. Michigan Made 2024. Celebrities rallying to boost voter turnout. You're from Bay City, Michigan, and you've been active in the congressional races there and the state legislative races around Bay City, which is like Flint and Saginaw.
Yeah, and I did a movie about the Flint water crisis, and I have to tell you, I was so moved by just the politicians in Michigan that came out to support us, and are still. This is something they had been working on for years, and it's still, yes, they still are. I mean, Dan Kildee gets to live his life, but he was really, really supportive and helpful. Because it's a story a lot of people really don't know a lot about, and it's really important, because I hate to say it, Flint's not going to be the last place something like this happens if we don't, really figure things out.
And that's a great issue where Republicans and Democrats have both dropped the ball in getting the issues in Flint resolved.
Yeah, and you're right, and I've seen this too with that. It's not. That's the kind of thing, and I think that's more, when it's like hometown voting, when it's your local stuff, it's so much less about party, right? And really about, what do we want to do? What do we want to achieve? And, I think, case in point, yes, if both Republicans and Democrats drop the ball, they can pick it back up, both of them, both sides, because I think in a lot of these cases, that's what it's going to take.
Michigan is a swing state this year. It's very
Yeah.
tight on the federal level. It's very tight in the Senate race between Mike Rogers and Alyssa Slotkin. What are you hearing from your friends and relatives back in Michigan?
It's funny. I just feel like it's so much more active this year. I did do some ads supporting Rudy Howard and Kristen McDonald Rivet, both in my old district. And these are people I would love, love, love to win because they're going to make decisions and policies that affect my neighborhood that I grew up in and my friends that still live there and my family that still lives there. But I feel so I did some ads for both of those candidates, and I feel like people are just seeing them more. It's much more active. It's much more active, and I'm not quite sure if that's this election in particular or just not that we're becoming more savvy, but just more invested. I think people are aware of like who you vote for, how that affects your schools, how that affects your roads, how that affects jobs, how that affects healthcare, hospitals, whether nurses get breaks or not. I mean, I feel like everyone's just a lot more invested than they used to be. And I think that's a great thing,
And I think
I know
that's
you and I are on different
right.
teams, but I feel like we share this.
But you notice we're having a very civil conversation about this, which I think we need more of in this country rather than taking the
Yeah,
extremes and name calling on social media.
The other stuff, that's just not my style. Not not in this area. And again, I'm from Michigan. It's just not that's not how I was raised. It's just not what we do. It's not what I want my kids to see. It's also not how I want to deal in day-to-day life. I think it takes a lot more energy to be nasty. And that's just not what I do.
And you should feel bad about yourself if you take that road as well.
Well, it's funny. It's like, I mean, every day we all go about life the way we do, but I put my head on the pillow and I think about who I was that day, how I treated other people at work, at home. And some days are better than others. Some days I feel like I accomplished a lot more and some days I'm like, yeah, I could have handled that better. But I'm able to go to sleep at night.
We're talking
because of who I was.
Betsy Brandt here on the Scott Sand Show. Michigan made 2024 celebrities rallying to boost voter turnout tomorrow on Election Day. As it happens, Betsy, you're the final voice on my show the day before the election. I'll let you make your closing arguments on why you think Democrats should be the ones to best handle the economy, the immigration crisis, the other issues that people will be voting on tomorrow.
Listen, I think you get to go in the voting booth and you get to make your own decision. And I think I know exactly what I think, but that's not really important. What's important is that every person, A, get out and vote, and B, be aware of who you're voting for and if their values line up with yours. And I want everyone to get out there and vote with empathy. That's my goal.
What role do you think people like you, celebrities, should play in the electoral process? I mean, should we elevate the influence of celebrities, of actors and actresses like you?
I'm not a big fan of the word should. I call it shoulding all over yourself. In a lot of different ways. I think people need to listen to me because I've been on television? No, I just think I think it's important to understand and find, common ground or middle ground with people that have very, we live very different lives from one another. I live all the way across the country, yet I'm supporting candidates that, in 3-hour time zones away. So I think it's important just to listen to each other. And yeah, I do